Welcome back to the Starting Strength podcast. Thank you guys for joining us on this continuing series that we're doing here at the back room of Wichita Falls Athletic Club. Our friend Nick Delgadillo has been appointed to take over the duties of the monkey this week, and so even though the credits at the end of this will say monkey, it's really Nick. Nick's actually doing this. And we're here this week with our friend in Long Island, John Petrizzo. Dr. John Petrizzo is here with us. John, how are you?
I'm doing all right. How are you?
All right, now we're filming this on Saturday afternoon, January 23rd. You guys, I understand, are getting some snow, right?
Yeah, this is our first big snowstorm of the year, and we got about a foot and a half today so far.
Well, is your house holding up under the strain, or?
I'm in an apartment complex, so I'm fine.
Well, look, I mean, you're on Long Island, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it snows up there, right?
Yep.
It snows up there in January on a relatively frequent basis, right?
Yep.
Well, what I'm interested in knowing is why is everybody going monkey shit over this? You get online today, and everybody is losing their mind. It's snowing. It's January. What the hell is the problem here?
It happens every year. I don't know why it's a surprise to people. I don't know.
Well, do you have any theories on what the media might be doing here? Are they trying to sell advertisements? Would that be their motivation? Is to try to
do that? I didn't realize.
Well, you know, that's what they say. That's what they say. I mean, they do run these spots. They hadn't stopped doing the ads, right?
No.
Oh, but they are wall-to-wall snowstorm.
Wall-to-wall coverage, yep.
Wall-to-wall snowstorm. Well, here in sunny North Texas, it is clear. It's about 50 degrees. And there aren't 15 million people running around with their hair on fire. So I'd rather be here than there. So, John, what's going on, man? What are you doing? John is, I want to go into this a little bit. John, you have a teaching job now. John is a doctor of physical therapy. He's teaching at a school in his neighborhood up there. Tell us about your job and what you're trying to do with it.
So I'm in my third year now at Adelphi University on Long Island, teaching in their exercise science department, undergraduate and graduate courses. And they were looking for a physical therapist to teach. I was recommended to them by a former professor from my graduate program. And I went on the interview not expecting to actually get hired because I had no teaching experience and, you know, had just graduated recently myself. And they offered me the job, so I took it with no real expectations. But I've been enjoying it so far. I teach kinesiology and biomechanics and a few other courses, sports medicine. And I get to work on some research projects, working with Jordan on this training registry project. I'm working on this study with the Olympic weightlifters, analyzing their pull. And I get to work with these exercise science students and talk about training and physical therapy and what real training is and how you actually go about helping people and the importance of strength. So it's been great so far.
We talked about the Olympic weightlifting thing. Just as this is almost an aside from what we're going to talk about today, but tell us about your pulling project and your success with getting that published.
Well, so I did a study that was actually I took Shelley Hancock's graduate research. She's another one of our starting strength coaches. Where she analyzed the deadlift with the traditional low hip starting position that you see a lot of Olympic weightlifting coaches typically recommend versus the starting strength model and analyzed for horizontal barbell displacement. So I took that model that she used and applied it to the snatch and the clean. And what I did additionally was use a Tendo unit to analyze peak and average power outputs during the two different movements. got a bunch of competitive Olympic weightlifters to be subjects, and ran the study, ran the data, wrote it up, submitted it to the NSCA, and they don't understand why this type of study would be of any value to anybody who would read their journals. Apparently,
Well, of course not. Because, well, I can help with that. Nobody reads their journal. So it doesn't
it's the
really.
first problem.
You're better off publishing it on our website. At least people tend to read that. Nobody reads their journal, so I guess there's no great loss. But well, here, what was the upshot of the results of this study?
Well, the upshot was that the experimental alignment, which is the starting strength model alignment, significantly reduced horizontal displacement during both the snatch and the clean, and that both the snatch and the clean had a trend towards improved peak and average power output during the movement, but it wasn't statistically significant because exercise science studies small number of subjects, the typical
Right.
problems that you tend to have. But,
Right.
and that was in spite of the fact that we really only had a single familiarization trial with these subjects. Most of them, 90% of the subjects in the study pull with the low hips position. So that's a position that they were coached in.
Right.
So with their first exposure to the starting strength model, they still produced a more vertical bar path and had an improvement in peak and average power.
Well, the more vertical bar path is important to us because it signifies mechanical efficiency, but in terms of the real world, a more vertical bar path would only be important if it also correlated with an improvement in peak and average power. Did it?
Right.
Did
Yes.
it?
Yeah.
To what extent?
Was
And you say statistical and clinical significance. Well, you didn't say clinical
Right.
significance. You said statistical significance.
right. The power outputs improvements-
Explain to our audience what that means.
Well, from a standpoint in terms of the study, there's a certain percentage that you'd have to hit for it to be regarded as statistically significant. These numbers that I got were between 2 and 3% for the snatch and clean peak and average power, which from a practical standpoint, to me, if you can improve your power output by 2 or 3% just by adjusting your starting position,
Changing your starting position.
that's it, right? Not getting stronger, not making any other adjustment, but changing your starting position. I think that has good practical application, but from a statistical standpoint, it wasn't significant.
Well, here's another aspect of practical application. What percentage separates first and second place at the Olympics?
Less than 1%.
Well, okay. That's what I thought. So, hey, this just in. As a major winter storm continued its advance toward New York City, Mayor Bill de Blasio advised residents Monday to make peace with whatever higher power they call God, for all shall meet their death in the coming tempest. The furious hoarfrost bearing down upon us knows neither mercy nor reason, and all within the 5 boroughs will perish, cowering in their brittle dwellings, said Bill de Blasio, adding that none would find succor from the gale save those favored by Providence to pass quietly in their sleep. This shall be a tempest the likes of which has never been glimpsed by man nor beast. Clutch your babes close to your breast, and take small comfort in knowing that they shall howl but for a few hours before death becalms them forever. De Blasio added that barring an unexpected intensification in the storm, normal subway and bus service would resume on Wednesday.
Was that your New York accent, Rip?
No. No, that was the accent used by those on high, such as Mayor de Blasio.
Yeah, he's not a popular guy around
I'm
here.
sure he's not. I'm sure he's not. He's a panic-stricken son of a bitch, isn't he? Okay, now back to the topic at hand. So you've got a group of people in this study, and this group of people has shown a 2 to 3% increase in peak power with merely an adjustment of start position, raising their hips, pulling the bar back in to the middle of the foot, and this is not considered significant enough of finding to publish by the National Strength and Conditioning Association's Journal of Strength and Conditioning Research, right?
That's true. Well, the feedback that I got.
This is the funny part, okay, is the review notes. Let's hear about that.
So the feedback that I got included the fact that the majority of champion weightlifters throughout the world pull with low hips. So
therefore,
this study is really of no significance whatsoever. Another one was
they actually said that, didn't they? This is an ingenious group of people.
Another
sorry
one of the
for
points was that in the U.S., this is one of their expert reviewers actually said that in the U.S., the experimental alignment is actually what they teach. They said the U.S. weightlifting coaches typically teach a shoulders in front of the bar position, and he couldn't.
Since what, last week?
Well, but the thing is that that's not actually true.
No, it's not actually true.
But this is
thus revealing the familiarity the reviewer had with the actual situation on the ground.
Right, and another comment was it's been shown that squat strength is more highly correlated to weightlifting performance than anything else. Well, I would agree with that, right? We know how important strength is.
Yes.
They've been conducting these studies analyzing bar paths for about 40 years now in Olympic weightlifting, right? Going back to the late 1960s, I think 1969.
And if I'm correct, your paper wasn't about squat strength, right?
That's correct.
Okay. Well, there's that too. All right, so anyway, I just thought that was amusing, so I thought we'd introduce that to the fans of the podcast here. Time marches on, right? And here we are, mired in mediocrity in 2015 with absolutely nobody doing anything about it but us. Okay, now, John, let's talk about one of my favorite topics, and I know one of yours, physical therapy, shall we? And I'm not going to be an asshole about this today because I'm not here to insult the entire profession. I'm just here to indict the approach taken by almost everyone in the profession. And why don't you talk to us about this, because I know you're as frustrated as I am with the situation. Sum it up for us, if you would.
Well, you and I we've talked about this a lot. This is a topic on the forums a lot, and I get contacted a lot from people who are frustrated with the typical outpatient sports or orthopedics physical therapy approach. So what you typically get in most outpatient physical therapy settings is a room with a bunch of tables. You have a physical therapist and support staff, aides and students and things like that, working every 15 minutes. They have, their next patient coming in. Everybody gets some sort of modality: ultrasound, ice, heat, electric stim, and that's a way for them to
modality. That's what you get to bill for.
Yeah,
is that the correct definition of it?
It's very convenient that everybody gets that because you can bill for it.
Right.
And it's also a way that you can get more people in at once because you can have 10 people on the table all getting stim while you have other people doing their exercises, things like that. So what you typically get is you get your modalities, you get the physical therapist will work on the patient manually for a few minutes, spend some time stretching them or doing joint mobilizations or some type of soft tissue work like ART or something like that, which you can bill for as well.
That's also a
And then
modality.
and then you get a very loosely supervised therapeutic exercise program that consists of mostly table exercises or light resistance bands, light dumbbells, things like that. And you basically come in a couple days a week, you follow that protocol repeatedly over and over again with no real thought to progression, and then eventually you feel better or you don't, and you get discharged. And that's most people's experience with outpatient physical therapy today.
So basically, what you did is you just healed up over the period of time you spent with the physical therapist.
Right, because
And
there's no
and for
nothing that
healing
really
up, the
drives
insurance
any
company gets
adaptation.
billed, right?
Yeah.
Right. Well, my perception of the problem is that in the current physical therapy curriculum, the stress recovery adaptation model is not taught as the basis for physical improvement, right?
That's true. Yeah.
And in my little non-professional assessment of the situation, I think that things would go a lot better if it were.
Of course.
So,
Yeah. So my experience with the PT curriculum, and I don't really blame uh, at all my program that I went through, because the curriculum has to be accredited, right? And every course is overseen by the accrediting body, and it's not something that there's room for, I guess, in the curriculum the way it's currently set up. So I think there's an issue in the design of the curriculum, as much as with how it's carried out. And the physical therapy program that I went to was 3 years. It was 100 credits over the course of 3 years. And you get a lot of anatomy, and you get your basic orthopedics courses. Then you have courses in with neurologic impairments, and then you have pediatrics, and then you have geriatrics, and you have all these different areas. But they don't go into detail in regards to exercise and the importance of how exercise can drive physical adaptations and improvements over time. So you get a general overview of a lot of topics, and then they rely on your clinical experiences, because they send you out into the field to work in these different settings to get experience with exercise. And the problem is no one in the field is really doing a whole lot of useful exercise, so students can go through an entire graduate level physical therapy program and not learn anything really useful about applying appropriate stress repeatedly over a period of time to get people better.
well, and the odd thing about that, if that were all there was to it, that'd be fine. Yet, physical therapists hold themselves out as the definitive experts on exercise.
Yeah.
And it puzzles me that they could hold this opinion about a profession that has so poorly prepared them with just the basics of analysis here.
Yeah,
You know,
I mean,
adaptation
you
is
can
the result of the recovery from stress,
right.
right? And this is all there is to it.
You could be a physical therapist and not know how to teach somebody how to squat correctly, or teach somebody how to deadlift correctly, or press overhead. And a lot of physical therapists regard those exercises as dangerous because they don't have practical experience with them, and they haven't learned about them over the course of their curriculum.
Well, my problem is more fundamental than that. If they want to, I can understand how someone with no experience, no formal training in the barbell exercises doesn't appreciate their usefulness and their power. But what I can't understand is that these people have not thought through the process by which they expect someone to improve during the 6 weeks of physical therapy. You can't come in the office and do the same thing under the same circumstances, the same exact stress repeatedly, and expect an adaptation toward an improvement to occur.
Right.
And this is just a fundamental conceptual problem. And is this not addressed in school?
I can't tell you that it's addressed in any meaningful way. We take physiology and things like that, but resistance training programming is really glossed over. Um, and
Is it understood as fundamental to physical therapy?
I think part of the issue is that physical therapy, you can work in a lot of different fields in physical therapy, and there are a lot of people who go to physical therapy school and go on and work in a hospital where they're never going to do resistance training with patients, and they're going to do is get patients up out of bed and walk down the hall with them, or take them up and down the stairs and then sit them back down. So there's not a focus on resistance training exercise in the curriculum.
Is the progressive nature of physical improvement, that's really my question, is the progressive nature of physical improvement stressed as the primary factor in this trend line upward that we'd like to see?
I think that any basic exercise physiology course that you take talks about progressive overload, but I don't think it's driven home how that is the fundamental guiding principle to helping people get better. Whether you're talking about improvement in fitness or talking about rehabbing from an injury, the emphasis is not there. So I can't say that it's not discussed at all, but it's not driven home how important that principle is across all these different populations that you're going to be working with as a physical therapist.
Well, how do you deal with this in your curriculum
Well,
there at Adelphi?
So I've been fortunate. When they brought me in, they basically let me build the curriculum from scratch for all of my courses, and I talk about the importance of this throughout all of my different courses. We break down how you actually perform these movements correctly. We talk about this very problem in regards to physical therapy. I mean, at my students, we have 200 undergrad students in our exercise science program. The majority of them want to go on to grad school for physical therapy, and a lot of them work in these offices and see this stuff firsthand, where they have patients who come in and over the course of 6 weeks, their exercise has not progressed at all. They're still using, the yellow resistance band to do their internal, external rotation, or, the 3-pound dumbbells to do their shoulder raises or whatever it is they're doing. So, not only are they doing ineffective exercises, but they're not progressing them at all. So the students see that as a problem, and it's something that I get to talk about in my classes. So I know, at least from my standpoint, I'm trying to do my part in making sure that my students come out of their courses understanding how important progressive overload is, whether you're talking about fitness or you're talking about rehabilitation.
Well, good. At least it's being addressed in one program in one school in the country. But we get feedback from people all over the country at our seminars. Mm-hmm. I mean, you're on our staff whenever you're available. We sit in front of 25 people, and 25 people will sit and tell us that the percentage of those people, and it's usually 5 or 6 people who've actually majored in exercise science, mm-hmm. Will tell us that our material is the only exposure they've had to some of these key concepts, and it's disturbing.
Yeah.
I mean, it really is disturbing. I remember, 25 years ago when before I actually developed an adult brain, I remember being in physical therapy for a couple of injuries, and I remember going to an appointment, and the guy was having me do something with a 3-pound dumbbell, and I said to him, we did this 3-pound dumbbell last time, and I was lifting weights at the time. And I said, we did the 3-pound dumbbell last time. Do you not think we ought to go up a little bit in weight? And he said, well, you can if you want to. That's the whole, in a nutshell, that's the problem. Mm-hmm. That's the problem, isn't it? You can if you want to. More recently, my experience has been with rehabbing my own shoulders. And I've had cuff repair surgery on this thing over here, and a Mumford procedure on this one. And both of those uh, procedures I'd rehabbed myself, because I was well aware of the fact that had I spent any time in a physical therapist's office, absolutely nothing would take place. First off, most physical therapists are operating under the assumption that presses will destroy your shoulder. I really don't understand the level of anatomical unawareness that is required to be of that opinion. Yet we hear it over and over and over again. I rehabbed both of these shoulders with presses and with chin-ups. And amazingly enough, this cuff repair, probably the biggest surprise to me at the time, although I look at it now and I think, well, no, that's perfectly obvious. I was deadlifting 315 on this rotator cuff repair 3 weeks post-op. And at the time I thought, well, that's amazing. Well, really, it's not. Really, no, it's not amazing at all. There are a lot of muscles that anchor the humerus in the glenoid, and the rotator cuff comprises a few of them, but there are lots and lots of other muscles, and 315 is just not that heavy for a 500 deadlifter. So, no, it's not surprising at all. And it was good to be able to actually move around and got the thing. Yeah, I walked into the physician's office, the surgeon, on my checkup appointment 7 weeks post-op, and he said, well, let's see your range of motion. So I said, well. And he said, well, guess you won't be needing any physical therapy, will you? And, because I'd already done it. I went, I probably ought to do a video at some point and detail the procedure that I used to start doing range of motion pressing with a real light weight, starting 10 days post-op on that freaks everybody out when you tell them that. But I developed a way to use the rings we have hanging from the ceiling in there. So anyway, you guys are doing a good job up there at Adelphi. What else is going on up in the area?
Well, aside from working at the university, I do work in an outpatient office about 25 hours a week. I see patients a couple nights a week, a few mornings a week. So I am, still actively working with people, which is, what I've always enjoyed doing. So, I have people that come to me now from all over. I've had people come from Connecticut, from, Manhattan, and it's because it's what I do and what we do at my clinic is different than what a lot of places do. We have a squat rack, we have a full gym. We're not going to waste your time with these modalities that don't work. And it's just across the board, you get amazing results when you actually apply the appropriate types of stresses to people. And it's something that I'm going to continue to do for as long as I can.
Well, why don't we plug the clinic?
It's Excel Physical Therapy and Workout in Manhasset, New York.
Excel Physical Therapy and Workout in Manhasset.
That's right.
New York. Well, maybe we'll get you a little business off of that. I assure you, this is not the normal process of physical therapy. Absolutely not, and it works much, much better. And go see for yourself. If you've been having problems getting something back to where you think it needs to be, give John and his crew a try, and let us know how it works.
I can tell you, when I first started there, my bosses have always been, it's a husband and wife who own the place, they have always been very much more exercise-based with their treatments than what I had previously seen in other physical therapy clinics.
Is that a snowplow driving by? I hear that noise.
Yeah,
that's a snowplow.
that actually
driving down the hall. Okay.
Yep. So when I got there, I started using the squat rack and having people squat and deadlift and press and do all this stuff. And that's not something that I think they had a lot of previous experience with, but they never told me I couldn't do it. and they started to see that I was getting good results with people, and people actually started coming and asking, to use the barbell stuff, and they've actually started to incorporate it themselves with their patients. And my boss actually had spinal fusion surgery last year, and he rehabbed it doing deadlifts, and now he deadlifts more than he ever had prior to his surgery. And
Yeah.
his wife is a triathlete, and she started squatting and deadlifting, and this year I'm confident that she's going to have a better season than she's ever had before, because she's just so much stronger than she was. And
Excellent.
now they see that, one, this stuff is not going to kill anybody, right? You're not going to get hurt if you do it the right way and you program it the right way. And there are tremendous benefits to it. So now all of us at my clinic are using barbells with our patients, which has been great.
Good. Glad to hear it's coming along nicely. And I'm glad to hear they've kept an open mind about it and have learned from you as a result of watching things actually work. That's good. Maybe there's
Yeah,
hope.
I'm pretty lucky to be in that situation, because
Good.
most places I wouldn't have even had the opportunity to do it.
Right. Do you need any milk, eggs, or bread? I mean, we can
Amazon
we can
delivers
figure
drones.
out a way to get this to you. Maybe call Amazon and get a drone to bring in
I'm
milk,
good.
eggs, and bread. You're good? Okay.
If
Well,
I can't get out, I'll let you
okay.
guys know.
Just call us.
All right.
If the phones are
All right.
working, just call us. Okay, John, thanks for being with us. John Petrizzo, Doctor of Physical Therapy, starting strength coach. And we thank you for watching the podcast. We'll see you next time.